Columnist in Canada has been forced to defend himself for some of his opinions. Members of the Canadian Islamic Congress targeted Mark Stein and filed complaints with 3 human rights commissions. The federal commission and one in Ottawa dismissed the complaints, but there is one left. Correspondent Steve Brown has the story from Toronto.
Is this book a human rights violation? That is the question in Canada.
The book was a #1 in Canada and a bestseller in the United States.
In America alone, Mark Stein predicts Western democracies, particularly in Europe, may become more fertile places for Islamic extremism because of rapidly growing Muslim populations. The conservative writer points out in many Western nations, Muslim immigrants are having more babies than natives. An excerpt of Stein's book was published in Canada's widely read news magazine Maclean's. It was immediately criticized.
This article is filled with factual inaccuracies. If we point that out to the Canadian public, it'll undermine the credibility of his thesis in the first place.
But Fromm, a Canadian attorney and Muslim, says when Maclean's and its corporate parent Canadian media giant Rogers said no to a rebuttal article, Awan and other Muslims eventually hauled the magazine before the Human Rights Tribunal of British Columbia. The charge, Stein's article and others before it, amounted to hate speech against Muslims. Leaders of the biggest and oldest mosque in Canada support the case against Stein.
Freedom of speech is something that we value, and however, there are certain boundaries and limits.
Unlike the United States, where the First Amendment protects the freedom of speech, this freedom is not even specifically listed in Canada's Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And in the past, these human rights tribunals have forbidden people from writing or talking about things which have offended other Canadians. Now, in Canada, the Stein case has generated a lot of attention and plenty of criticism for these tribunals.
What we are seeing is an effort by minority groups, including, in this case, the radical Muslims, to shut down criticism. And that's what it is.
What the case has not done is shut Stein up. He's posted trial updates on his website, Stein Online, where he also sells his books and T-shirts. The tribunal's decision could come down as early as this month, but the Muslim plaintiffs believe they've already scored a victory.
We have managed to make a national issue out of the fact that Muslims and Islam are being portrayed in a very unfair manner in our media.
And to some extent, Stein concedes he has been muted.
I'm sick of having to have my columns lawyered to the hilt now every time I write. Obviously, that adds to the cost to the magazine.
Adding a financial deterrent for anyone wishing to publish Stein's views. In effect, already making his speech less free in Canada. In Toronto, Steve Brown, Fox News.
Sad news, syndicated column